Welcome to Dear Young Queen, the podcast.
Miss Mary Mac, all dressed in black, with silver buttons. Do the kids do that anymore?
No.
They don't do hand claps?
You know what's back is Shabuya.
What?
Shabuya. Roll call. Shabuya.
They don't even double
My
dutch
name
no
is
more.
Lex. Hey,
I'm
I'm a flex.
Hey.
Roll call. Shabuya.
They don't do
That's
that.
back. Because it's only with somebody's, like one of the rapper ladies. It's her song now. So the kids are into that. If it's
not the rapper
TikTokable.
ladies. Not the rapper
Only.
ladies is crazy. You know she's somebody mom. The rapper ladies?
Well, I could
Those
say
women.
rappers,
Yeah.
but it's a I don't know the group name. It's a group.
Oh, it's like a group of them.
I
Like
think so.
the New City Girls.
Yes.
Wait till your daughter hears this.
Yeah, but they'd be like, oh, that's such and such. But anything that's TikTokable these days, I feel like is back.
Yeah.
It's
That's
hot.
true. But it's definitely making me aware of my age.
Yes.
I'll be like, damn, not you sampling the music I grew up on. Like,
Sampling
our,
is the
our
key.
stuff was being sampled, my mom's stuff.
stuff.
But the idea you're sampling my sample of the sample is out of control.
We're there, sis. We're there.
And I
We're
feel like
there.
it's the double Dutch effect where I hear the beginning and intro of a song that I know. And I'm like, okay, we about to vibe. And then it's a whole nother person. I'm like, y'all took the hook from Music Soul Child and put somebody else on there? Or-
Now you talking about my neck, my back on top of music?
Yeah.
Not on top of
I'm
music.
like, what
Soul
we
Child.
doing?
Yo, they're out of control. But listen, that means we had good music.
We had
That's
good
all that
music.
means. It's so
Classics.
good. They had to bring
Classics.
it back, honestly.
Everything comes back, though. Everything
does.
comes back.
Everything
Full circle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Lex.
What's good?
Happy to be here in Casa Lex.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Casa Lex.
We have a newbie.
We do. Welcome.
Thank
Did you sign the book?
you. I did not have the privilege
Oh.
of being asked to sign the book.
Okay, Lex, I don't even know if you let the people know
Sorry.
about the welcome book.
Right now, every guest that comes to Casa Lex, you sign in.
Sign in at the front door.
I want to know who you are, why you were here,
Here.
when you were here.
Okay.
I
done.
haven't yet decided if it's something that she loves or if she's framing us all one day. She'll be able to know if
You're
something goes
definitely
missing,
watched.
exactly who is there. And also the cameras. Between the sign-in book and the camera, you caught in here, all right?
But it's like a little yearbook vibe.
No, for sure.
I want to know, like, just who's been in my presence.
You shared energy and you took part in the space.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, or a beverage.
Cheers.
Cheers on this side. You got to double it.
Yes.
Lex, what's in our cup today?
I'm gonna call this a ruby vibe because we have a ruby grapefruit, we have vodka, and we also have a little mint in yours, a little bit. But then I topped it off with ginger beer just to give a little sparkle to
And
it.
hints of lime. It's delish.
We have a newbie in the house.
Mm-hmm.
We are so honored to have you here. Yes. Sitting on my left here today, we have Miss Safiya.
Oh.
Dr. Lyn, if you're nasty.
Oh, a doctor, paging doctor.
Paging Dr. Lyn. Yeah. She is a licensed integrative medical cannabis and emergency medicine physician. It's a
You hit it.
mouthful, but guess what?
hit
We
it.
love it. We love a queen with a title.
Titles.
Okay. How long you had to go to
Thank
school
you.
for that title?
Too long, girl. I'm still in school. It's a whole process. I'm learning every day.
Beautiful.
One of the flyest things is that you actually just opened up a practice right near Casa Lex.
Yes.
Right near Casa Lex.
Absolutely. Aventura. I just
Beautiful.
opened my practice, Ask Dr. Lyn, for medical cannabis, where I'll see patients and be able to evaluate them and determine if they qualify for medical cannabis in Florida.
That is super dope. And then also emergency medicine.
I've been practicing emergency medicine for over 10 years now down here in Florida. Right after residency, I knew I wanted to come back here. I lived here back in the day, bartending, studying for my MCATs. And then finally, after residency, had the opportunity to choose where I wanted to live and work. And
Wow.
Florida was number one. So I initially signed with Mount Sinai Hospital, and then also I work at University Hospital in Davie. So we have two hospitals that we have privileges at, and then I work full-time for the last 2 years because of COVID and the need for physicians and overdrive. So now I'm able to pull back a little bit from emergency medicine and really focus on Ask Dr. Lyn, which is my legacy, my passion for medical cannabis.
I didn't even think about when we
love
invited
that.
you here how crazy probably the last few years have
Yes.
actually been for you.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, definitely. It was an obligation. It was a need. It was something that if
A
you were in
necessity.
healthcare,
Ugh.
like, and you weren't frontlining it and you weren't helping, like, you weren't doing your service, you know? So this was an opportunity for us all to learn and to help others. So it is coming back around again, and it's mutated so many times. I think at this point we just need to kind of look at it more as this is not leaving. This is something that'll be present. How do we adjust and accommodate to make sure that we are minimizing the impact on other people?
Yeah. And you have children, yeah?
Absolutely. I got two. My daughter is 13. She's in 7th grade. And my niece is 15. She's in 9th grade.
Oh, you have them
Beautiful.
both in your house.
Well, my daughter lives with me, of course. And then my niece is in Atlanta. She
Okay.
moved to Atlanta like 2 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
but always two.
I love
So
that.
I love that.
they're sisters.
I love that. I don't have very many friends that were what we like to call now on the front line during that.
Yeah.
What was that experience like for you?
It was traumatizing. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was traumatizing, not just for patients, but also for healthcare workers. The lack of PPE, the access to proper medical gear to protect yourselves, not knowing what you're walking into. You're wearing a full headgear, body suit, and you're walking in to see somebody with an ankle sprain, not knowing if they have COVID, if they've been exposed. So it really created a distance between you and the patient, and being able to build that interaction and that trust. Because now you can't even shake hands, you know?
Yes.
So just trying to at least let them see your eyes, let them understand like you're here for them, provide that empathy, that compassion. So yeah, it was a challenge to create and foster a trusting relationship with the patient, but it was also a mental challenge to have sustainability and endurance during the whole time, because you initially thought of it as a season, like, okay, we're gonna all get vaccinated and this is gonna go away.
Correct.
Yeah.
And being here in Florida, I feel like the joke was we never shut down.
We didn't.
You know, we are very much an open city.
And during that time, I traveled. So I was in New York, I was in Los Angeles, and I was in Georgia as well, working and helping out. So seeing the difference in Florida versus other states that were super mandated,
Correct.
like in-house, can't go outside, like extremely prohibited from doing any socialization and activities. Yes, we were absolutely open.
I'm sure that was frustrating being from the medical community.
Definitely. So there was no uniform action, you know, amongst the nation on how we're going to attack it, which made it more challenging to eradicate, essentially.
Yeah. You've practiced emergency medicine for many years before you opened up your own practice in 2017, right?
So background is board certified in emergency medicine and started down here in Florida doing that, working at the hospitals, doing my shifts, getting a better understanding and fulfilling my base for what I need to know to have a solid foundation to be an amazing physician. And during that process, Florida is one of those states that we have a lot of tourism, a lot of travelers. And I was seeing a lot of people come and they would go to the raves and the parties and Spring Fling Week and this and that, you know, they were kicking it. People come down here to kick
Correct.
it. South Beach, Brickell, like that whole vibe, Wynwood, they come down here to have a good time. But there was a period that the state was going through, or specifically South Florida, I'll speak to because that's where I practice, that I was seeing a lot of overdoses with designer drugs. I was seeing a lot of polysubstance abuse, and I was seeing patients who I couldn't recover, I couldn't help. You know, they would go into respiratory arrest and eventually heart attacks and die. So it was something that we were not able to save patients from. They're like, what the hell are they on? What kind of bath salts did you use? Like, what did you take?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
Florida men. A
And we
bunch of
couldn't
Florida
catch
mans,
up.
yo,
Yep.
out here wilding.
We could not catch up as
Isn't that something?
providers. And that was part of my initial like spark that's like, there's got to be a better way. There absolutely has to be a better way. These people are using for a purpose, for a reason. Let's go deeper into that. What is that purpose? And just after talking to more and more patients, I was like, okay, so why do you use Percocets? Why are you using Xanax? Why are you addicted to benzos? Like, what's going on? And then just understanding that there is an underlying mental health disorder that just hasn't been formally diagnosed. So many of us are dealing with things that no one's actually taken the time to identify and diagnose. So helping people track back, like, you started smoking weed when you were 13. Why'd you start doing it then?
Yeah.
Oh, I seen my cousin get shot in front of me and it helps me to calm down. You know, so when you backtrack to that PTSD and that stress, you help people to identify moments that change their entire mental circumference and outlook, you know? So getting down to those facts and those identifiers, I was able to show them, well, have you ever considered doing it formally? Have you ever considered doing it under the direction or guidance of a physician? And which helped me to be able to customize different prescriptions for them. So when I recommend, not only are we just using flower or smoking, we're also using topicals if there's specific joint areas that you want to use your product for. We're also using vape, a more discreet way to medicate. In addition to that, there's the options of suppositories for my women who have monthly menstrual heavy cycles and cramping and fibroids and all of the disease processes that we deal with as women every day. There's vaginal suppositories that you can do. Yep. You know, there's edibles. There's various ways and delivery options for you to consider using medical cannabis. So just opening their eyes to be a little bit more creative, to be a little bit more willing to assume that autonomy for their lifestyle, take control and care of their health. It's been quite a journey, and I've helped so many people. My whole approach is, when you're coming to me, you're doing minimal amount of cannabis to achieve maximal relief. So I don't want you going to the dispensary. Yeah, I don't want you buying $600 of product. Like, I want you to make sure that we're intentional with our use. And you're always gauging. So we're pulling back on the things that we don't need, those addictive medications that we're trying to diminish and eventually eliminate.
Yes.
And we're finding the minimal amount of cannabis to achieve the same goal.
To me, it's evident how important it is to have a physician that actually cares about you as a human being. Because if you weren't willing to stop and find out who they were as humans and what their experience was, this probably wouldn't have even been a journey that you went down.
Absolutely.
And
definitely.
it's like, you know, we spend a lot of time talking about how hard it is for women to find OBs and like different things and various different journeys.
Yes.
But it's like also it's hard to find a PCP that cares about you like you do. It's evident even in the way that you spoke about how it was your duty with COVID to show up and like serve. We have to count our blessings and be so grateful for incredible physicians like you that are willing to do more than just show up and collect a check, for lack of better words, or turn beds
just
over.
a number.
I appreciate
Whatever that is, like that's huge. Like to restore the passion for helping people.
Yeah. I take my responsibility seriously. I trained at Meharry Medical College and HBCU in Nashville, Tennessee, and I came from a really ground up training facility where, you know, you're not going in asking the patient, so what do you do? You know, what do you like? What works for you? You're going in, you're sitting down, you're having real conversation, and nothing creates a better vibe and trust with a patient than actually sitting there eye level with them and just being like, girl, so what is going on? These kids driving you crazy? Like, let's talk about ways that we can help get you assistance. Just helping people find solutions instead of criticizing their problems. I'm actually going back in 2 weeks to Nashville to speak to the students about medical cannabis opportunities and stuff like that. But
is that training or education that the college had already? Or
No.
is this the first?
No.
That's dope.
I was working with old school Black doctors who like came in and actually used their hands to examine patients, not just your stethoscope, but actually touch the patients, actually helped you to, you know, see and feel and just communicate. You never realize how much holding a patient's hand while they're dying helps to calm them and comfort them.
Absolutely.
If you haven't been through that hospice care, if you haven't experienced that, those simple human moments just create so much trust. And I can't emphasize enough with especially the doctors that we're training now. I teach at Nova Medical School, and the past 2 years, some of them are graduating, have never touched a patient because they couldn't do their clinical rotations. They were all shut down during COVID. So they're coming out as brand new doctors with letters and initials, and they've never even touched a patient. You know, so that's always the concern for me. That's like skills that you always have to maintain and build.
You're able to build and grow because of the way that you treat, handle, and deal with your patients. So you're going back to bring the education of cannabis medicine to the university you studied at, which is dope.
Is super dope, because one thing I never got in medical school was information about cannabis as a plant. It always came up in the pharmacology drug section, like, this is bad, you know? So now here we are, you know, I graduated from Meharry in 2013. So here we are 10 years later, that you can't walk into a room without somebody asking you about CBD, THC, CBNs, cannabinoids. Like, if you don't have that vocabulary and that language to at least give them a basic understanding, and if not refer them to someone who actually can give them more detail and knowledge, then you are 10 steps behind. You have to stay on top of the trend in order to be able to communicate.
Is this something that was difficult for you to try to communicate how important it was to some of the older doctors that were in the department, or was this like an easy sell?
Girl, no.
It was hard, huh?
I am from a very traditional industry. And anything that is not evidence-based, scientific, with percentages and population studies and segments, if I can't show you it on a map, it's not real. They don't want to. They don't want to hear about individual testimonies. They don't want to hear how something has impacted someone on a micro scale. They need macro level, nationwide, worldwide, multi-study, tiered population testing.
Is that hard to do when it's technically a state issue?
So it's federally illegal, technically.
Right. So how do I do mass testing?
There's no funding for that kind of research, which means that a lot of, institutions and groups that are pro-cannabis have to develop their own sites and funding and studies, because otherwise you can't gain federal grant funding for it yet. So hopefully we're moving in that direction.
I know that, cannabis has been an excellent solution for cancer patients, but like, that's it. What else are we using?
You hear glaucoma.
You got glaucoma. It cures glaucoma and it helps you if you're going through chemo. Those are like the two things that you hear about why you can use cannabis medicine.
And that's what we've seen in the movies, right?
Yeah, so, exactly.
That's exactly the two most popular topics that we've seen it for. But it has been utilized for an array of diseases. And remember, there's broad spectrum and then there's micro spectrum. So you have things like ALS, you have things like HIV and AIDS, you have PTSD, you do have cancer, you do have glaucoma. So in the state of Florida, there's 14 categories that are officially listed as categories that patients can be diagnosed with that allow you to be qualified as a medical cannabis patient. Some of those that we listed, in addition to that, seizure activity, terminal illness, cancer. We talked about the HIV and the AIDS. We talked about the multiple sclerosis, the ALS. So there's 14 specific conditions. But within that, the very last one says a condition that is of a similar category. For example, you might not have epileptic seizures, but you might have absence or tonic-clonic seizures or focal seizures. Does that mean your seizures don't qualify? No, you still are able to be qualified under the general category. So that's where your physician comes in and makes sure that this is the appropriate technique and method for you for management.
Do you feel like plant medicine in general, not just cannabis medicine, but now we're seeing like
mushrooms,
shroom medicine, and all kinds of
psilocybin
things.
and shrooms and everything.
What was the other one you said?
Like ketamine and psilocybin. There's a lot of different other plant-based medicine and more homeopathic approaches to healthcare that you can explore legally as well too. Recently, ketamine has been approved for depression. So you'll see ketamine clinics become more popularized. And remember, a lot of
that's new to me.
What's ketamine? Ketamine sounds like a perk.
Ketamine
sounds like fentanyl. Ketamine does not sound safe.
Ketamine. So ketamine is actually an analgesic. So it's used in putting patients to sleep.
Okay.
Really? So it used at micro doses through infusion process can help improve therapies for depression. And you do that alongside with your psychiatrist or your therapist. But it's at microdosing levels. So it helps to minimize the long-term effects of depression and the severity of the disease. And there's a lot of new research being funded into that because now pharmaceutical companies can see a different way to monetize ketamine rather than only using it in the OR.
And as soon as they can figure out a way to monetize it, though,
there you go.
Of course, they will make it legal and push it.
Yeah.
It's very interesting to me that shroom as a plant medicine is actually being pushed forward, while cannabis as a plant medicine for so many years was basically only in the illegal substance list.
Right.
Yes.
And I just think it's interesting because the shroom community doesn't come from those communities of color.
At all.
And
you try to give a black person a mushroom, they'd be like, oh, hell no. I mean.
Absolutely. They'd be like, mushroom.
They're like, who the hell does that? Yeah, it's not
So it's
at all.
wild that all of a sudden there was this automatic acceptance and now we're going to push it and put it in movies and tell you we're going to damn near try to legalize so quickly, but the fight for cannabis to be a healing substance has been so difficult. And I would argue that it has a lot to do with the communities in which have embraced it.
So remember, we came in kicking down the door, which allowed more opportunity and made the pathway easier for discussion, for acceptance, and for promotion. If this was your choice for medicating, you've had a community to help support that all this time. Now it's just a popular discussion, and it's hitting more communities because we're all asking and talking about it.
Well, like I said earlier, I'm impressed by your love for people, but the money's not bad as a doctor.
No, the money's not bad, but when you balance how long you went to school for and how much student debt I have, which is not forgivable,
I was gonna say,
because not forgivable because I make too much.
Right.
So I don't
like you can pay that bill.
Exactly, you got that bill. I'm still paying medical school loans, but honestly, there's money to be made. It just depends on how hard you want to work. I'm an independent contractor, so I work at multiple hospitals and I can choose my schedule. And so if I'm having a tight month, like, damn, holidays coming up, like, let me go hard on my shifts. I can do that. You know, I have that opportunity. If I want to see 50 patients in a day in my cannabis practice, I can do that. It just all depends on how much you want to work and the quality of life. And I think what I'm focusing on now, 10 years into the game, is building a better work-life balance. So my hours in ER are 12, 14-hour shifts, and that's overnight, that's daytime, that's weekends, that's holidays. And I really looked up in this past year and I was like, I haven't seen my kid in 2 years. I haven't spent Christmas at home. I haven't been home for New Year's. I haven't been home for birthdays at times because of the demand of work. And she's in 7th grade now, and I really wanted to create a better balance in my schedule, in my time, in being able to afford time with her. So as a part of my transition, pulling back from emergency medicine a little bit and creating the office, I created more of a Monday to Friday 10 to 6 schedule, which allowed me time to travel on the weekends to her gymnastics competitions, allowed me to close the office when I don't want to see patients and be present for special dates and holidays and plays at school and stuff like that. So reprioritizing what I need to do versus what I can do. One thing I'm good at is I know how to work. And when I'm single, I work my best. You get caught up when you're dating somebody.
Yeah,
you're like,
you do.
You know, like,
you get that lazy love.
And like you said afford time off.
Yes, exactly.
That's a huge statement to be able to afford time off where you can like, you know what, I can have a couple days off, the weekends, especially when everyone else is off.
Exactly. So that was my priority for 2023. I set that intention, submitted my request for the hospitals, like, hey, I'm going to keep my privileges, but I need to pull back on my hours. Like, all of that was created with an intention to be able to be more present for my kids.
A lot of times I feel like women like yourself who are successful in their careers and who took the time and energy to dedicate to be expert level in what they're doing, but don't talk about what that means for your family life.
Oh, yeah. No,
absolutely.
They've been the biggest sacrifices. Because even before my kid is my patients. And people don't understand that. Like, there's been opportunities and times when my kid has been sick at school, but I can't go pick her up because I'm on shift at the hospital and I can't leave, you know? So how sucky is that? Like, I'm taking care of a stranger instead of my own kid who has, you know, who's at home sick with the stomach flu.
How do you justify that within yourself?
There's always that mom guilt. There's never a justification. Instead, it's helping her to understand that my privilege to be able to take care of people is greater than the moment. I'll be there every time that I can. And if I'm not there personally, I'm there in spirit. I've set it up so that my mom lives with me. So she is, beautiful. Really a second mother. Like she's come she's come into the space since my husband passed away. She's come in and created that second mom intention and moment beyond just being a grandmother. She's my right hand. So we've been able to really balance that, which allows me to be successful in all of these other areas. But yeah, you get that mom guilt and you feel awful. And then you're like, all right, let's get back to it. Like you get about 5 minutes to be sad and then you jump right back into it.
Does she feel it equal to the amount of guilt you have or no? Like,
oh, she'll tap in. She'll be like, oh my God, Mom, you weren't here last week, but these Jordans are coming out.
No. Yeah, she knows how to read.
These J's are coming out. And, we were the same size. So we can just share them.
We need
them. We can jump on the app, but we need them. It's now a mutual gift. So yeah, she's learning how to tap in. That's Somebody taught her that manipulation. But no, she's an amazing kid. Like straight A student, competitive gymnast. Like my niece, she does competitive wrestling. Also honor roll student. Like they both know how to manage, and they get everything they deserve. Grades first.
That's how I raise my children. I'm definitely a briber, but if
Yes.
you bringing me home A's,
Right,
and
exactly.
you on time for curfew, then there's lots of benefits that come with that. Yeah, for sure.
It's always interesting to see mothers who are like full-time employed that have this guilt for things that they miss for their children or not being able to be there for them. And then you look at their kids and they're not missing anything.
They're not lacking.
They're not lacking.
Not in any
and it's
degree.
really just a part of what you had inside that's like, oh, I can't believe I missed this. And she's like excited to come home and tell you about it.
Exactly.
Right? When you get
me,
home,
it's not you, it's me. Honestly.
It's more mom guilt than it is like the girl's lacking in any way, shape, or form. So I like to reiterate that to like my working mom friends that like, yo, you're doing your thing and what you're teaching them.
Good.
By being out there and working, and you're teaching
hustling.
them the hustle,
We're hustling.
The sacrifice. They're learning sacrifice too.
Back to conversation we had, self-soothing, how to take care of themselves, how to know that they can do it just like moms out there getting it. Yeah. I think those lessons are as important as being there every single time they need you.
Agree.
And it's teaching balance too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then also understanding your purpose is bigger than yourself and than the moment. Like I think that's what's most critical for me. Like I wasn't given the skill to not be able to use it, and people need me. You have me. I'm your mom. I'm here all the time for you, whether I'm physically here, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, but there's also people that need me. And having this gift and this passion, you have to be able to pay it forward, which comes with mentorship, which comes with being able to take people in and help people in different aspects beyond just physical health.
I can't get over like how much you genuinely care for people, strangers at that.
Yeah.
When I used to see homeless people on the street and feel bad for them, my mom would be like, I'd be like, oh, I can't believe they have this, or they have this mental illness, or they have this, or they have that. And she'd be like, the only thing that you should actually be really sad about is that they didn't have anybody else to turn to. That they have actually exhausted all their resources or didn't have them to begin with to put them in this place. People need other people, and particularly when they are in these stages, addicted to serious hard drugs, dealing with mental illness, terminal disease, like you need somebody.
Absolutely.
You need to be able to trust a professional that is not just here to do their job, but actually here to show up for you. It's super important. So what sign are you?
I'm a Leo.
Oh, no, girl, that don't even go.
No.
You're supposed to be selfish and all this other shit.
I'm the good side of the Leo.
Trying to run everything.
What?
It's not adding up.
No, it's not adding up.
Leos ain't Leoing right now.
No,
you got something going on.
You're not Leoing at all. That's crazy.
Yes, I'm a Leo. And then my closest, best friend Xana and my sister are Sag. So they balance me out.
And that might rub off on you a little bit. That's probably what it
probably
There's definitely a ninja side, We got to get shit done.
Let me tell you something. Sages are a good time.
Every time.
Every time.
We got a Sagittarius
Shout out to Sag in the back.
In the building.
So we've just kind of found a newfound friendship.
Yes.
You've been a crazy supporter of Dear Young Queen.
Of course. I comment all the time. I love that community because you can really support each other from afar, whether you know someone, a friend of a friend, connection. And I'm like, yo, I love what you guys do. I love your message. I love your empowerment. I love your movement. And I love that you say everything I'm thinking and you put it on paper and I just get to co-sign it.
Definitely not afraid to say it. But I do think that that's what's so dope, like you said about social media, is the power of connecting with other incredible women.
Yeah, it's no longer 6 degrees of separation anymore.
Either, by the way.
It's a swipe.
No.
Yeah, and social media does a kind of incredible job of putting people that
all
community right?
into your feed. So you're gonna know 2 people that I know that know 2 people, and Instagram will just put it in there, just dump us in there. But I just wanted to highlight the importance of finding your tribe. If you don't have your tribe in your community and your neighborhood, go online to communities like Dear Young Queen. If you're interested in cannabis medicine, hit up AskDrLyn.com.
You know it. Right. DM me, I'll hit you back. It's not a machine talking to you. It's actually me. The worst part about social is when someone hits you on some fake business, like, hey, let's do this, let's network, and it's really just trying to get to know you as a date, and you're like, bruh, don't fake DM me on the business. I don't know, but girl, look at you.
Not on the business doctor. I might try to fake it too.
Okay.
I'm having these bad migraines.
Emergency. Paging Dr. Lyn. Paging Dr. Lyn.
Unless there is a good money check involved, like that's my biggest pet peeve. Don't DM me like, oh my gosh, I'm interested in getting my medical license. What's the next steps? Yeah. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, by the way, can I take you for coffee? No, bro, pull up to my office. Like,
well, they are shooting their shot. I mean, you're fine. Yeah. I would shoot my shot.
Yeah, I would shoot. That's what I'm saying. I would be suffering from migraines and a backache, and I fell on the job. I'm like, can you give me a prescription?
You cannot approach dear young queen in that manner. We're not having it. You got to be more sincere. So yes, that's definitely one of my pet peeves. But yes, all social media, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram are all at Ask Dr. Lyn, AskDoctorLyn. And you can find all of the latest up-to-date information. I just opened my brand new office January 1st.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's a way to kick off a new year.
Yes, absolutely. So we're seeing patients by appointment base only. And we're qualifying patients for medical cannabis. And we go through all the algorithms and steps to help you understand what is the best treatment plan for you. How do we customize this for you? And also show you various dispensaries like, okay, Trulieve has a great product here. Let's hit up the flower. We some flower. We can also go to Curaleaf. There's a lot of great dispensaries right now. There's over 500 dispensaries in the state of Florida.
Really?
Over 780,000 qualified medical cannabis patients, and I'm one of 2,500 qualified physicians in the state.
How many of them are of color?
Good question.
They
percentage? Do not gather that data.
Okay.
But in order to become a medical cannabis physician, you have to be a licensed practicing MD or DO with a qualified DEA, unrestricted license. And then you can apply and take a course to become a medical cannabis physician. So once you go through all that licensure, and you have to maintain that with continuous education classes and stuff like that. And
so that's why you say you're still in school.
I will always be in school, forever. Testing might not have to do as much, but I will always be in school. It's an ongoing process for sure. But good question. Not a lot of color. And even of all of those physicians, 2,500, I would say probably half of them are physically practicing because there isn't a textbook way to recommend medical cannabis. I can't tell you, Ash, you need 2 puffs every 6 hours, or, Lex, you need a 10 milligram edible. Do that every 8 hours. Take that with food. Like, I can't tell you it like that. It's an art, and it very much is influenced by someone's body weight, BMI, fat storage and content, other medications that you take, your daily lifestyle. If you work at night, if you work in the daytime, like what do you do? Like all of those things influence how you decide to use cannabis.
Do you yourself, are you a cannabis user? Are you
Of course, yeah. I'm a card holder. I'm a medical user, and I'm from Jamaica.
Yeah.
We grew up. If we go back, we grew up with cannabis being a free plant. It always had spiritual and medicinal components to it. It was not intended with our Rastafarian culture for recreational use. I was rubbing cannabis salves and teas on my stomach and headaches before I even knew exactly what they were. Right. And that just was handed down from my grandmother to my mom, and it just became an ongoing thing. A couple years ago, my mother had shoulder surgery, and the first thing that she was doing to medicate was vape and topicals. So she was doing topical CBD and THC ointments to help in her recovery and improve her mobility of her shoulder. And then she would vape for pain, So, and she's not a smoker. But helping her to see other different ways to consume really allowed her to partake, so that way she didn't have to get constipated with narcotics and she wasn't dependent on Vicodin or any of those things. So just showing people, different opportunities. As long as you're open to it, then I'm definitely the physician for you. But if you're looking for me to convince you, it's not what I do.
Yeah. At all.
Yeah, I was curious of what an interview would look like, or when someone would ring your doorbell and be like, Dr. Lyn, I need that cannabis right now. What's good?
Pull up. We will definitely schedule you. I'll take you through the process. And it's super quick. It's like half an hour, which includes your physical examination, going through the process with you, getting you customized, same day approval. So literally, once you leave me, you go straight to the dispensary.
That's amazing.
So there's no lag time in between the approval for your card. Now, this is different with every state, but with Florida being very advanced electronically, you come to my office within the hour. If you have a qualifying medical condition, you're approved. You pay your $75 fee online to maintain the card for 1 year in the state of Florida. And then I'm sending you to dispensaries. So I'm showing you different opportunities. Why don't you try this over here? Why don't you head over to this spot? They're ready for you. Your prescriptions are submitted electronically, so you don't have to walk out with any paper or worry about anything. Say you were in the Keys for the weekend, or you were in Tampa at a game and you want to pick up product. You can go into any dispensary within the state to access your electronic prescriptions.
How do you combat some of the harmful effects of things like smoking?
Yeah.
When saying they need you to treat with this, but also know that it comes along with some other, not that all medicines don't, right? Every medicine comes with a
side
effects thing that's like as long as your diploma. But how do you combat like maybe somebody who's interested in treating cannabis but like can't smoke? For instance, my mom has 2 brain aneurysms.
Right. Exactly.
Right. So smoking is not an option for her.
Absolutely.
Right. Is that, do you suggest edibles? You would just suggest another form, or?
You know what? Like all medicine, cannabis is not for everyone too. So CBD is promoted as it's a universal healer. It's not for everyone. There's side effects to everything that we use and consume. And the most common ones are nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, dizziness, paranoia. Those are the most common side effects that we see with overconsumption or inappropriate consumption. And in terms of specific illnesses, everyone has to understand what works best for you. So I can't approach a non-smoker and all of a sudden tell them, you should go buy a bud. Let me show you how to break it up. This is how you roll it. And then you put, like, that would be foreign. I would immediately turn a patient off because that's not comfortable for them. They're used to the consumption of whether it's a pill or whether it's a topical, a different form of delivery. So everyone for me is microdosing. So starting with minimal amount of product, because I really don't want you to have a negative interaction or side effect. Timing is important. When you're eating is important. All of that will delay edible consumption. So if you just had a huge steak and potato meal and then you try to consume an edible and you're like, damn, this is not hitting. I thought this was 10 milligrams. What's going on? And then you take another one, then another one, because you're like waiting for it to hit. But you have to understand the delayed transit in your system. So it's not going to be absorbed as fast as because you're not on empty stomach. So microdosing, being patient, being open to the possibility that this one delivery method might not work well for you. This is for more immediate effects, sublinguals, tinctures, things that are absorbed mucosally easier. Vaginal suppositories, those things, they absorb faster into the bloodstream rather than you doing some other methods, like edibles, like topicals. They might take longer because they have to go through the dermis and they have to go through the digestive system. So that is really important for people to not overconsume. And once you have a bad trip, you're immediately turned off, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Girl.
You're like, girl, I'm never doing that cookie again. I'm never doing that.
My mom is like that. She's like had a time where she was smoke, and then she's like, oh, it makes me too paranoid. But I'm like, Mom, there's different strands. It wasn't just the reefer right behind the corner. The homie gave it to you. This is some real, it's grown a certain way. It's been tested. They know exactly what it is. It's regulated. And you pick, there's different options.
There's different options. There's different hybrids. There's different percentages of THC, there's 1-to-1 ratios. So all of those details, which you can't hit a patient with all at once. I work closely with a lot of the bud tenders at the dispensaries for education and consultations and making sure. Bud tenders, girl. And they make good money.
Really?
They make good money. Like, for real. Like, if you have an 18-year-old or older that is interested in cannabis, and usually typically they consume already or want to learn more about the pharmacology or agriculture of it, like, bud tenders, they make good money.
Wow.
Definitely.
Tendon bud.
There you go. There you go.
Mixing cocktail. Mixing cannabis.
Yeah. So I work closely with them.
I wanted to just run back for a second because we started to go here. We got back into work, girl. So what's your relationship status?
Ooh.
They hollering,
we all up in your business.
They hollering at you through
in the DM doing Ask Dr. Lyn when they supposed to be asking about ailments.
Filling out forms. Like, what's good?
You're like, I need to come see her.
Yeah.
You know what? Let's see. So we are in 2023. I got to backtrack. So my husband passed away almost 8 years ago this summer. And since then, I've been going through a Evolution, I would say. You know, a lot of that time was spent alone. And it was really to solidify my house, making sure my daughter was stable emotionally, making sure I had the proper tribe set up to help. You know, that doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah,
So
she's fairly young.
yeah,
This
she
was
was
8 years
super
ago.
young. She was like 5'6".
Wow.
So that transition took all of my time and effort. So I didn't date seriously for the first couple of years. And then since then, I've been in a few relationships. And in that process, instead of trying to look for a husband or look for a partner, I started dating a little bit more freely and with the intention of, I like this energy over here. You're great for my fundraiser function tonight. We have a good time in the club. We like the movies together, you know? So I started dating a little bit more freely in terms of those experiences and building companionship.
I understand.
Because I realized one person doesn't meet every aspect of me.
I like
you
that.
know? So as I'm getting to know myself better and getting to a space where I understand what's comfortable for me, the traditional norm of, you know, the white picket fence and the 2-parent household and the dog, that is not what my future probably looks like at this stage. Not that I'm not open to it, but I'm definitely more open to vibes and energy and good people. If you can catch me with the sarcasm, with the jokes, still be smart and funny, like know how to hustle. Biggest attraction if you can hustle. Those are the things that at this stage now that I look for a partnership with. Instead of necessarily looking to fall in love, I'm looking for someone who really just feeds that energy. So
do you think that you have that satisfaction? Like actually that piece was already filled. You got married. You had your baby. You did it. Do you feel like maybe now there's not as much desire for that because you've done it?
Good point. Good point. If I had never experienced it, I probably would have more of a yearning for it. But man, I had such a solid love, like an unbreakable love. And even when I talk about Malcolm, I talk about my husband today, dudes are intimidated. They're like, damn, that was a good dude. Like solid.
You set that bar.
Absolutely. I came from a foundation where I didn't have that relationship with my father. And Malcolm was 9 years older than me. So I grew up with him all my 20s. Like I grew up with him. So he really helped to mold my personality, my career, my skills as a mother, my intentions. Like he helped me to develop who I actually am in that stage in my life. And such a love that I can't replicate that. And what I was doing for many years was comparing. So it really wasn't kind. It was a disservice to new guys coming in. You know, dudes were coming in like, well, I'm living up to a ghost right now. Like, who is this person, you know? So I had to take a step back and see how that can be a turnoff and a deterrence for men. Coming into a strong household, I got me, my mom, my daughter, my niece, my sister fly. Like, we all step up to the plate.
And the guy's like, where do I fit in?
Where do I fit in? Where
and
do
the only
I
person
fit
that was
in?
able to kind of figure it out isn't here. You can't even lean on them to ask.
You can't even get no advice, bro.
You can't get advice or anything.
You don't have anything.
Interesting. It's I don't want to compare divorce to death. But it's definitely the person that you thought or dreamt about that you were planning for the future has now been plucked out.
Exactly.
Removed. So it's like is different now. So what is it? What does this look like parenting? What does this look like pivoting? What does this look like now time management and dating? It's definitely very parallel.
And dating, absolutely. And that has been low on my priority list for the last couple of years, but it's creeping its way up because in this balance that I'm trying to create, especially with this new intention that I set for this year, you know, companionship is important to me.
It is.
My daughter is getting older. She's leaning on me less. As teenagers, they're going into their own clique and figuring out who they are, you know, so it's a little less time with your mom and more time with your friends and all those things. So I'm feeling that pull and that push and pull a little bit. My mom is amazing. She's been super helpful, but my role has changed to become her caretaker. You know? So even though my daughter's growing up, now I'm also caring for my mom as well too. So that relationship is a new dynamic and element. It's no longer just me and my kid. It's a package deal. So you come in the mix like, okay, you got a live-in like mother-in-law, you got a teenage kid. You got over here. You know like this grown man business over here. Like Ain't no little boy. No,
y'all have a machine that works.
We have a schedule.
Yeah.
We have a schedule. So you have to really be flexible and be able to fit in. You know, every vacation is not a vacation. Sometimes we got to take a family break, you know? Sometimes we all going away. So those elements to my new life, it's different. It's different and it's not built for everyone. And I understand that. When I think about longevity with somebody, it's a lot for anyone to handle. And I can't even be mad if they look at my situation and be like,
nah, I can't do it.
You forgot about your other baby. You got your baby, you got your mother, you got your practice.
Girl,
that's a lot of babies.
That's a lot of babies.
That is a lot of babies.
It's a lot of babies.
It
Absolutely. So yes, it's a challenge, but no, please, you know good people, send them my way. I'm open. Give them my number. Feel free to text me.
I've been seeing you out lately, so you know it's a lot of social gathering.
It's been around. You know,
streets a little bit
yes,
more. Okay?
Yes. Definitely open to it for
sis.
sure. And I like older men.
Okay.
So requirements.
Is there like a minimum?
I like
he needs to be
men.
at least X amount of years older than you.
Not even a minimum, but I'm 42. Let's look in the camera. I'm 42.
Hey.
So
damn good.
And I love my age now. I love who I am at my age. I'm finer now than I was in my 20s.
Girl,
my confidence
that's how I feel.
is
Better. It's crazy.
It's better. My confidence is better.
Your bag matches your hustle.
That part right there.
All of that just starts to like
it falls into place.
It really does.
And then you really have this I don't give a fuck in your 40s. You have a lot of that demeanor and that attitude and you're very sharp and you're quick. You know, you really don't have time for the BS. So in my era, you know, looking for men, I'm looking for the widow, the divorcee, like the older guy that's been through that. Not the one that's looking out here for the 22-year-olds and 30-year-olds. No, I'm a whole woman. Like, I got a lot going on.
Miami's tough with that.
Yeah, that's why I haven't met anybody solid.
It's tough out here.
That's why I have not met anybody solid.
You're looking for the young tenderonis.
They really are.
I'm not a PYT kind of girl. Like, I like an older, seasoned man.
All right, so have you tried a younger guy?
I haven't, no. But I don't even have like a desire. Like I want somebody to uncork a bottle of Camus. Like let's do a charcuterie board.
Young
like
boys know about
Camus. Let's lay it out. Like
they know how to come out there.
I have not. So maybe I'm doing something wrong. You know?
We'll go and hang out. I do like because the younger ones that I've noticed are like really. They admire an older, seasoned, vintage bottle of Camus.
There you go. There you go.
That top shelf that's been sitting. They love that seasoned vet vibe. You know what I mean? So I embrace that.
I love it for you. I'm not ruling it out, but older is definitely always been my attraction. Okay. Like 50 and up is my attraction. Absolutely.
Okay. So then
late 40s, 50.
Especially because they're more seasoned and settled. And
they're settled.
I get what she's saying.
Yeah, because I don't want any more children. You know, we have limitations. I don't want to have any more children.
That's true.
And a lot of older guys are like, nah, I'm good.
And they're good.
Or they've been divorced or they already have kids that are finishing
Your
up college.
kids are older. When you're older, your kids are older.
Yeah.
So I don't have the young baby mama drama. Like, you know, older, vintage season can teach me a few things that can create some connections, some relationships. We're all about partnership at this stage in life.
Yeah.
Longevity.
I love that. All right, girl. So you're on the Dear Young Queen podcast, and this is a podcast about first and last. So on every episode, we like to ask a first-time question and sometimes a last-time question.
Ooh.
So you sat here and you spoke about experiencing love, a great love.
Yes.
But I want to know about the first time you had your heart broken.
Oh my gosh. To be honest, like I can't even remember like teenage love. Those don't count. Everything pre-husband doesn't count. Yeah, like that's not even on my body count. Yeah. I don't even know who you are.
It rolls off like your credit, baby.
Go. That's right, baby. 7 years gone.
Or the new year.
or we just start over every 365. Whatever works for you. Yeah.
New beginnings.
Yeah, totally.
So post my relationship with my husband, post his passing, I dated a guy. I dated a dope guy, creative guy, like someone that I was like, ooh, wow, attracted to, fun, quick, spunky, like ready to go, drop a dime, spontaneous. Like, he wasn't even that young. I met that old. He was like near my age, right? Okay. When things went bad with him, it was like a crash and burn bad. It was like one of those, you don't just quit each other, you like explode, you know? So it was one of those like very intense, heartbreaking kind of things. I hadn't experienced that since I was a teenager. So dealing with that in my 30s, I was like, oh my God, how do you recover from this? Like, what do you do? Girl, and I only dated him for like a year, but I swear it took me a year to get over that situation.
I had this conversation with my mom, actually. I went through probably my first big heartbreak closer to 30. I was like 29, right? And my mom had told me that she had wished that I had experienced the heartbreak in my early 20s.
Right.
Because it almost hurts even so much more when you're later in your 30s because you don't know
what's next.
Yeah.
To death.
You don't know what's next. You don't understand that you can just pick up and keep going. When you're 25, someone breaks your heart, you're like, boy, bye.
I wish you would.
I'm out here. But then you're like 30s and you had already lost the love. It was just like, oh, this shit
you started to invest time. When you invest time and you look back and you're like, oh my gosh. Yeah, that was a tough one. And it was mentally tough and it was emotionally difficult because I hadn't actually grieved the loss of my husband. So when you have this happening, it starts to unlock emotions that you had really compacted and tucked away for so long, you know, because you kept going, because you kept fighting, because you had so much to do and you had to make sure everything stays stable. I hadn't unpacked that trauma. So going through the actual breakup with the guy I was dating, it was magnified by tapping into the loss of my partner, my soulmate, my husband, in addition to, man, this nigga trying to play me? Like, you're trying to play me? Like, So tapping into that too. And like, oh, dating is different nowadays. Dating is new.
Oh my goodness.
I didn't know the rules. I hadn't dated in so long.
I'm still learning the rules.
You know?
Yeah.
So I was with all of that and trying to understand. I took really a solid year and I was like, okay, I got to get back on track. And then I came out like Teflon, you know, which makes it even harder for somebody to approach me now. You know, you come out of that rebirth.
That again.
Never.
No one will ever be able to break
tolerance.
you down like that.
The tolerance is just,
you don't have the tolerance.
The mental strength and the ability to compartmentalize. I really have to, you know, use that power discreetly. A lot of that skill comes from my career. Multitasking, compartmentalization, leadership. Like, you're always thinking 10 steps ahead and anticipating. And you're like, all right, this is looking like it might go left. Let's turn right. Those skills and that training doesn't only work professionally. It bleeds into your personal life. And those are things that I'm like, all right, like, soft life, open up a little bit, be more open to opportunity to receive, you know, the compliments, the gifts, like, be more open to it. And so I think that's what I'm leaning more into. And that side of me is starting to soften. So I think my heart is definitely opening again to be able to love in a different capacity.
I love it.
I love that. I love that
for you.
Thank you.
Listen, we
Thank
may
you
or
for
may
all
not
of us.
tomorrow slide on over.
Yeah.
I am still dealing with a lot of the PTSD from the various different things that have happened in my life. And, you know, I don't do hard drugs or anything like that, but I have tendencies to do other things, to retreat or, you know, fall back or be antisocial and, you know, and handle it my own way. So I'm not going to slide through and have you take a look at me and see if there's
hit the couch up.
See if I qualify or may not. We'll have to do all the testing to see how that goes.
And we could do a trial run, see how you enjoy, and then, you know, kind of go from there. But honestly, just being able to kind of lean into this space a little bit more and pour into and be more transparent. I think that is key. And I love that you both do that beautifully on this segment and through your podcast. And it gives women an opportunity to see, like, oh, I can make new friendships, or I can build partnerships. We can go from friends to business. You know, that's one of the main reasons why I wanted to be present today. And I love that you've done this transition in audio to now visual. I love that you're at this stage, and I'm happy to be here and happy to be a part of it.
We are so honored, excited to have you here. Thank you for
Extremely
all the
honored.
wealth of
Thank
knowledge and information you
you.
provided today. We're going to make sure that we put all your links and all that
Yes,
in the bio, but tell the
definitely.
people where they can find you.
www.askdrlyn.com, office number 305-487-0902, licensed in Florida, Georgia, and California. Georgia has been approved medically for 2 years now, and they're actually bringing their first dispensary, True Leaf, March 4th. So it takes 3 weeks to get your medical card in Georgia. So that means you need to sign up for an appointment ASAP, go through my website, we'll get you licensed. In Florida is same-day approvals. 1 hour, you come into the office, we customize your prescriptions, we go through next steps and help you understand how to safely medicate with cannabis. And we're going to do it all. We're going to do it all. Tell a friend who has good intentions, who's looking for a physician who wants to work with them.
Amazing. And if they're on social, where can they find you on socials?
My best connection is Instagram and I would say YouTube. But all of my social media links are uniform at Ask Dr. Lyn, AskDoctorLyn. And yes, if you have any questions, feel free to text me, feel free to call, even DM with appropriate questions only.
DM with appropriate
questions only. But I'll be happy to answer.
All right, girl. Thanks for coming by.
Cheers, ladies.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you for having me.
So much. Cheers.